I was married to a woman in Webster Parish who faked my divorce, and her and a warden by the name of Jerry Goodwin and the district attorney of Webster Parish, they have been setting me up over parishes throughout Louisiana since 2015. And this arrest was a setup by this warden Jerry Goodwin, and it's ridiculous that they're saying that I did this and I did that. It's just all of these people that are in power. They're doing things because they're trying to it's just conniving.
Why would you think you?
I mean, because okay, I'm a young black male, you know, and
Fair.
I'm dealing with a lot of people in power. Who do I have to go to actually fight against these people? And they're the ones that setting it up. I mean, how can you win? You have these wardens over these prisons. You have the police they're using. You have the district attorney. You have the public defender. And you have the judge, and they're all working together. How can you defeat that? Who do you go to actually go against these individuals?
We have seen a lot of parole revocation hearings, but the conspiracy between an ex-wife, a DA, and a prison warden, this one's new. So buckle up and I'll unpack it with details at the end.
Good morning, Mr. Powell. My name is Pete Freeman. I'll be acting chair today. Along with me, fellow board members, Mr. Steve Prater and Ms. Cheryl Renatza. Would staff at headquarters introduce yourself, please? Okay. Is there any staff there with you at Washington?
Yes, sir. Deputy Marchand, good morning to you.
Thank you, Deputy Marchand. Deputy, you have anything to say about the offender? Has he given y'all any problems since he's been there?
Let's see. It looks like just one incident when he was in our kitchen, and that was, when was that?
About a week ago.
About a week ago. But
What happened? What was it?
I think he got into an argument with another trustee worker and used one of the large boat paddle mixing spoons to strike the other offender. No injuries though.
Okay. All right. So a little inmate fight. Okay. All right. So today we're going to start off at Washington. Time is 9:03. Our first hearing is Wiley Powell. Mr. Powell, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read your violations. You're to plead guilty, not guilty, guilty with a statement, or not guilty with a statement. That's your four choices, okay? At first, you just plead. I'm going to read the violations. You plead. Your case has been assigned with me, and then I will ask some questions, and then we'll vote. Okay? Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So today we have Wiley Powell. Mr. Powell, introduce yourself and your DOC number.
Wiley Powell III, 471-662.
Okay. Mr. Powell, it's alleged that you failed to report to your probation and parole officer since November 23rd. Your whereabouts were unknown and a warrant had to be obtained. How do you plead to that charge?
That's that. Can you repeat it?
They said you failed to report to probation and parole since November 2003. Your whereabouts were unknown and a warrant had to be obtained. How do you plead to that charge?
Who would they be?
That's the probation and parole officer. Did you report to your probation and parole officer?
In November?
Yes, since November. Have you been to the probation office?
No, I haven't been to the probation office since November.
Okay. All right. So how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty?
I plead not guilty.
Okay. You also charged with violating condition number three, you failed to provide a valid address to probation and parole, and you failed to report to probation and parole since November 2023, and a warrant had to be obtained.
Sir, you cut out.
How do you plead?
I plead not guilty.
Okay. Here's the big one. You were engaged in criminal activity. This is evident by your arrest on 4/29/24 by the Monroe Police Department for the offense of simple battery, battery of a police officer, simple criminal damage to property, and resisting an officer. On May 14, 2024, you were found guilty for all charges and were sentenced to time served. How do you plead to that charge?
It's guilty.
All right, and then number 10, you were $378 in arrears on your supervision fees. How do you plead to that charge?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right, so Mr. Powell, let me ask you this. What happened on 4/29/24? What was all that about? Oh, do you have your questionnaire with you?
Yes, sir. I mean, I guess this would be.
She's gonna put it up. Just tell me if that's your signature. Is that your signature?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that says that you were not eligible for appointed counsel and you did not retain counsel, correct?
Yes, sir. I suppose so.
Okay, and you want to proceed with the hearing without counsel?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry I skipped over that part. But now tell me about this incident with Monroe Police Department.
Well, honestly, not to just be, I'm just gonna explain this how the best I know it. I lived in Webster Parish, and I was married to a woman in Webster Parish who faked my divorce, and her and a warden by the name of Jerry Goodwin and the district attorney of Webster Parish, they have been setting me up over parishes throughout Louisiana since 2015. And this arrest was a setup by this warden Jerry Goodwin, and it's ridiculous that they're saying that I did this and I did that, but they set me up with Webster Parish, the parole that they say I'm on. They sent some guys to my door who have pronounced themselves as MPD, and they jumped on me with a signed confession as they had a police brutality case on me, and all they're doing is they're keeping me in jail while they're trying to sue these people under the table. Probation and parole arrested me illegally in 2016 on some drug charges. They took me to jail, and they took me to jail. They gave me 15 days credit for time served. I ended up doing 11 and a half months, and it's just all of these people that are in power. They're doing things because, they're trying to, it's just conniving,
Did you go to trial on those charges?
No, I've never went to trial on any of them.
So you pled guilty to all of them? Why would you plead guilty?
I mean, because okay, I'm a young black male,
Fair.
and I'm dealing with a lot of people in power. Who do I have to go to actually fight against these people? And they're the ones that set it up. I mean, how can you win? You have these wardens over these prisons. You have the police they're using. You have the district attorney. You have the public defender. and you have the judge and they're all working together, how can you defeat that? Who do you go to actually
Mhm.
go against these individuals?
Okay, I have no further questions. Either one of my colleagues have a question?
They're not.
Ms. Renatza? Okay, no question. Okay, is the panel ready to vote?
Yeah.
Ms. Renatza, you ready to vote?
Yes, yes.
All right, Mr. Powell, bottom line is you were found guilty of all of those charges, or you pled to all of those charges. I don't know about this conspiracy theory, but the bottom line is you can't plead to something you didn't do because it did violate your parole. My vote today is to revoke.
I understand. It won't stand though. I mean, you can revoke it.
Okay. Ms. Renatza?
Yes, I agree. I didn't understand anything that he was saying before and how it related to what we're here for today. I am looking where he, withdrew his not guilty plea in court. I think it was May 14th of this year, and he entered a plea of guilty. So he violated the conditions of his parole. My vote today is to revoke.
Okay, and Mr. Pray.
Yes, my vote is to revoke and possibly see if our good friends there in Washington would run him through the mental evaluation process once again.
Yes,
Okay. All right, your parole's been revoked, Mr. Powell. I think you understand what happened, but your parole's revoked. Good luck to you with your endeavors.
Thank you. You all be blessed.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir.
Well, that was quick. It was like a classic Miss Renatza and the sheriff. They're just like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Conspiracy theory or not, this has nothing to do with getting revoked. And look, we have seen corruption in Louisiana. We've covered corruption in Louisiana hearings, and I'm not going to deny that it's there because we have seen it firsthand. But from what we see with the information that I'll go over, this is not it. And he did not put up a good argument for it either. The judges, the DA, they're actually not really in cahoots. You see a lot of conflict between them, but anyways, what else can you say? The last little bit where they said, why didn't you have him checked out for mental health? I think that was good advice. I don't know how much time he's back in, but this is the crime that he initially was in local motel scene of DV. This was June 9th, 2022, which was 2 years and a month ago. And it goes, an alleged dispute at a local motel has led to the arrest of a Minda man. Now, he was arrested by the police and charged with DV, abuse battery of a police officer resisting by force or violence, and a fugitive from outside agency. Chief Steve Cropper said that Chris was dispatched to a specific room at the motel around mid-afternoon in reference to a DV incident in progress. Dispatch advised that the caller said a male and female could be heard actively fighting in their room. When the officer arrived, he approached the room with 2 Webster Parish deputies as backup. Cropper said the officer could hear the disturbance and sounds that made him believe that someone or something was being thrown across a room. There was a lot of screaming and banging as impact on the walls could be heard, said the chief. The officer knocked loudly and announced himself. The male opened the door and the officer and deputies called him out at gunpoint. They say that these are some of the most dangerous calls are these DV calls. They can always go sour fast. Once the male identified as Powell was secured, Officer K reportedly entered the room. In the room, it was totally destroyed, the officer said. The female was sitting on the bed, and the officer could see visible marks all over her face, arms, legs, back. Her hair had been pulled out. The officer said there was hair all over the room, but I'm sure this is also part of the conspiracy. The victim reportedly denied medical help and said she did not wish to pursue charges. Officer Kayer stepped outside the room when he heard Powell arguing loudly with the deputies. Cropper continued, he became irate when the officer informed him that he was under arrest for DV battery. And I can picture it right now. Due to active resistance, deputies and officers reportedly were forced to drag the suspect to the city patrol unit. Powell somehow used a tire to try and break free from the officer's grip on him, Copper said. He continued several times until the officer was forced to use a closed fist to his face in an attempt to get pain compliance. Wow. I like, isn't that interesting how that's written? The officer had to use a closed fist to the face to get pain compliance. I didn't know that was, yeah. I'd be curious to see the body cam footage of this. Once Powell was in the back of the patrol unit, the chief said he kicked the officer and twice struck Curry in the face with his feet. It took the officer and both deputies to get him under control and in the unit, said the chief. Powell was taken to the Minden Police Department for booking and transported to Bayou Correctional Center. And then, he gets out on parole and he violates here, and apparently it's a conspiracy.
You were 23 at the time,
Yes, sir.
and this girl was 13 at the time.
Yes, sir.
And you say you met her at a party.
Yes, sir.
What I was reading in the report was that y'all slept in the same bed together for 3 or 4 nights.
Yes, sir.
Is that the same incident we're talking about?
Yes, sir.
You told the investigators or someone that the mother was 15.
The mother, her mother, my daughter's mother,
Right.
she was 15 when her and I got together.
Well, yes, what he is talking about is 2 separate victims, although he is only here for one. Now, before we watch this parole hearing, we are going to take a blast to the past, to 5/6/2021, where he has a parole hearing with Miss Renatza, Miss Wise, and No Way Roche. Let's jump into that hearing, and then we'll fast forward to the future.
Mason Calcoat.
DOC number, please.
718-644.
Okay, thank you. Let me explain the process to you. First, I will read information into the record. Then the board will conduct a parole interview with you. At the end, you'll be allowed to make a brief statement before the board votes. Do you understand the process?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This is the case for Mason Calcoat, DOC 718-644. Date of birth 1993. First class offender. Offense is carnal knowledge of a juvenile. Parole date is 11/6/2021. Good term date is not eligible. Full term date is 7/7/2028. Is this information correct? Mr. Calcoat.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Roche.
Thank you, Mr. Racer. I apologize, Mr. Calco, for being a little late for your hearing. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm good, sir. And you?
Good. Mr. Calco, you're currently 28 years old. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Today.
Today is your birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you, sir.
And you've been incarcerated approximately 2 years, 10 months on a 10-year sentence. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were fortunate. The judge, in his wisdom, after your conviction, sentenced you to 10 years and gave you 5 years, suspended the sentence and gave you 5 years supervised probation.
Yes, sir.
And I understand you did very well the first couple of months. You had employment, you attended your sex offender classes, and you just did well.
Yes, sir.
And all of a sudden, in June of 2018, you disappeared.
Yes.
And they found you in South Carolina. Tell me why.
I was around a lot of people. I wasn't doing none of the drugs and stuff, but the more I was around,
Sir, tell me why you were in South Carolina.
I was working. I was rebuilding power lines over there.
Did you get permission from your parole officer?
The first go around, yes, sir. And I came back, and then when I came back, there was too many drugs around, and I didn't like being around it, so I just left.
Without telling your parole officer?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. So you were brought back to Louisiana, and you were revoked in March of 2019. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Tell me the programs you've completed since you were revoked in 2019.
I've taken anger management, parenting, and substance abuse.
Okay. Do you have children?
No, yes, sir, I have one daughter.
And one daughter. How old is your daughter?
She turned 6 this year.
Good. Now, have you requested sex offender treatment?
I've requested any kind of treatment I can get.
So specifically, have you requested sex offender treatment?
Yes, sir, I have.
And
When
what was
the When the past warden was here, Joe Doe,
okay. And what was the results?
I was never sent anywhere to get it.
Okay. And let me inform you that the entire legal community, even the judge that cut you a break when he gave you a suspended sentence and probation, says that he is adamantly opposed because of the nature of the crime and because you absconded supervision. The DA's office is opposed. The chief of police of Leesville, Louisiana is opposed. Everybody is opposed. And the judge says you still owe $1,100 in fines and cost of court. Did you realize that?
No, sir.
Well, you still have a bill with the court that convicted you and sentenced you. You have a moderate risk assessment score, which tells this panel this afternoon, because it's after 12 now, that you have a moderate chance of reoffending. You have limited programs, you have parenting, substance abuse, and anger management. But I think in your case, you're very young, you're 28 years old, and you're on a road to becoming a career offender. You need some additional programming. Tell me about your job at the facility. What do you do?
I was a hallway man until an accident happened, and I've been put in medical dorm now.
Okay. What was the accident?
A guard discharged a weapon in the building, and it caused me to have hearing loss.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully it will come back.
I've been to a doctor, and it won't. It's permanent damage.
Tell me about your disciplinary record. How many disciplinary write-ups do you have?
None, sir.
Okay. So what's your transition plan? What do you plan to work? What do you plan to live?
When I get out, I moved to Toole, Texas with my grandpa and my mother, and my grandpa wants me to take over his business that he has.
Thank you, sir. Madam Chairman, that completes my interview.
I had a couple of questions. Your grandfather's Ricky Jackson?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you mentioned you were on the road crew. When did that happen? the accident?
I was on a hall. I was working inside this facility as a hallway man, and that happened.
Hallway.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. I cleaned, I mopped the floors, took trash out. Anytime they
Right.
needed help.
So that the discharge of the weapon is what damaged your hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
Didn't you didn't you try to join the military?
A long time ago, ma'am, when I was 18.
Yeah, and it seemed like I read somewhere in the record that there was a hearing loss issue at that time, wasn't there?
Yes, ma'am. They tried to say a hearing loss, but I come home and took a hearing test and it didn't. I had no hearing loss.
Interesting. Okay. And so your plan would be to go out of state and live, you said you live with your mother
Yes, ma'am.
in Texas, Tool, Texas?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I don't have any other questions, and I don't see that there are any other questions. Is there a statement you'd like to make to us before we reach a parole decision?
I just hope I can make it, ma'am, so I can go work for my grandpa. Like, cause he told me the reason he wants me to come take over his business is because his health is failing. And I know the job all my life I've been in the power lines. Before I was in South Carolina rebuilding power lines when I got in trouble. And like I told Mr. Alvin, the reason I left Louisiana is because the drugs are too bad here and I didn't want to be around it. And that's the reason I left. It wasn't I did not leave due to running from anybody. I didn't leave to go party or anything. I left to go work. You could call my boss Paul Shirley and he'd tell you that's all I did over there. And on the weekends when I wasn't working, I was riding his horses. I wasn't running to just leave Louisiana. I came back from time to time to visit my daughter and my nephew and my sister, but it wasn't one of them I was trying to evade the law.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
so it never occurred to you to check in with your parole officer and you did it right once, you said.
Yes, ma'am, I did do it right. But when I understand I messed up. I messed up because I should have called her and explained to her that I don't want to be in this area no more. But I just did not. That's not the mind I was at because with my company I was working for, I was making a lot of money, and I had that gung ho. I don't need nothing. I just want to go make money. And now my papa gave me the opportunity to go work for him and be living with him. And he can take me back and forth to go see the probation office. And I know where the probation office is over there because back in 2016, when I got these charges, I was found over there. I was staying with my papa helping him.
Right. I saw that.
I got brought to Atkins. I keep getting mixed up. Atkins or Aiken County, and that's where the probation office is. And he told me I don't have to worry about nothing. He'll take me back and forth to go see the probation office. He wants me to do is go take over his business because his health is failing, and he just wants money for my grandma when he passes. And I was like, I can do that. I can do whatever you want me to do. I just want to get all this in my past. And
there's a concern. Mr. Roche was mentioning the sex offender treatment, and there's a concern because in the record it said that the victim here was 13 years old, and you did not think anything was wrong with having sex with a 13-year-old. And do you understand that it is now?
Yes, ma'am. I completely understand.
And I believe, well, you mentioned your child, and we know that situation as well. It's in the record. Is the deputy in the room with you?
Yes, ma'am. He's right here.
Yeah. Is there anything you can say about Mr. Calcope?
I mean, I haven't had any issues with him since I've started working here. He's a decent guy to me, like I said, but I know him from here. And I said, I've never had an issue. He doesn't cause any problem for me.
Good. All right. Good to hear. Thank you. All right. We are, Mr. Roche, you prepared to vote?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Mr. Calco,
Yes, sir.
unfortunately, I don't think you're ready. You need additional programming. You need to see about getting into a sex offender class. You have a poor supervision history. You have absconded supervision. You have law enforcement opposition. The judge who sentenced you is adamantly opposed. And you have a moderate risk assessment score, which tells us that you have a moderate chance of reoffending. For those reasons, I'm going to deny your request.
Ms. Wise?
Unfortunately, Mr. Mason, I concur with my colleague. I too vote to deny for the reasons already stated, but I do want to encourage you to write back after you've completed the sex offender treatment program, write back for a rehearing, and also have in writing your plan. Perhaps somebody, your grandparents can, send us a letter outlining all the things that you stated, with the address and everything in Texas for your next hearing. And I encourage you to have that in writing. Best wishes to you, sir.
Mason, my vote today, because of the nature of your offense, it requires a unanimous vote. So you know what happened today. You got 2 votes to deny your parole. I would vote to grant your parole to your grandfather in Texas, out of state in Texas, and that you would comply with whatever sex offender treatment after release, that is required. There is some training that's required after release. But unfortunately, you had 2 unfavorable votes. So we're going to make a note in the record to see if we can get you to a place that gives you some of that sex offender treatment. And as soon as you're eligible, reapply once you finish the treatment. You have time to do that.
What Miss Wise, she said something about my pawpaw writing to them. Who would he have to write that to?
Get with your classification officer. They should give you the address of where you can send everything. They can send everything to. So that way you'll have everything in black and white as to what your plans are.
Yes, ma'am.
And they'll give it.
You have a classification officer?
I ain't never met one here, ma'am.
We'll send it to you when we send over the information with your decision form. We're going to send it to you in writing. We'll give you the information on the address. Okay.
All
right. I think that concludes our business at Sabine. Thanks so much for accommodating us this afternoon. We're going to adjourn at 12:10. Good luck to you, Mason.
right, ma'am.
Well, that hearing took place 5/6 of 2021, and now we're going to fast forward to present day 7/25/2024. Ms. Renatza is going to be back on the parole board listening to him again, but we have 2 new members that he hasn't yet seen. That would be Mr. Pete Freeman and the sheriff, Mr. Prater. Let's see if he fares any better, and I'll unpack it with the details that I have at the end of this hearing.
Okay, yeah, still waiting? Yeah, I'll get it, all right. What it is, when he went to EBR to DOC.
Okay, they're on.
Morning.
Morning, sir.
Disciplinary, but explain that.
Talking in the background.
Okay.
Okay.
We got
All right. We'll be coming back to order at 11:24. We're at now Southwest Correctional. And we are here for Mason Calcote. How you say your last name? Calcote?
Okay, you pronounced it right, sir.
Okay, Mason Calcote. Would the staff there introduce yourself, please?
Cheryl Cook, administrative.
Okay. Today we're here with myself, Pete Freeman. I'm the acting chair, along with Ms. Renatza and Mr. Prayer. Ma'am, what do you have to say about the subject? Has he had any disciplinary problems? What has he been doing?
No, sir. It's all good. We've got several here that would speak in for him. He's been helping work maintenance here, and we have the man he's worked with, Mr. Scholar. He's here, speak for him, and Warden Kaufman is here, Warden Smith. He's done very well, very good.
Okay, they didn't put down the speaker, did they? So, but we can allow 3 speakers, correct? Okay. All right, thank you, ma'am. Let me read some preliminary information into the record. Today we are here for a parole hearing on Mason Calcoat. Mason is a first felony offender. Mason was sentenced to 10 years DOC, suspended, placed on 5 years probation. His probation was revoked. And he was serving a total of a 10-year sentence. His dates are, his parole date was 11/6/21, and his full term date is 7/7/28. Does that sound correct?
Yes.
Okay. I would like you to tell us, what happened. How did you commit the offense? What was going on? And then tell us why should we let you out today?
The crime I committed, slept with an underage girl. Met up with an underage girl and slept with her. That would be a crime I committed.
Did you know her?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, and well, tell us a little bit about what happened. I mean, y'all talking? How did this go on?
We met at a party, and I was not aware fully of her age, but I learned it. But I didn't. Being young, I wasn't, I guess you could say, wasn't worrying about the age difference. But now I've learned my actions had consequences, and I've learned that it was the wrong thing to think, sir. Because I hurt her, probably her parents, and it was something I regret doing every day. Every day I regret it.
All right. Okay. Your case has been assigned to Mr. Prater. Mr. Prater, I'm gonna let you read the question.
Hey, is anybody else gonna be speaking in the room?
That's right. We don't have any speakers down, but is there anyone there that wishes to speak?
You want to speak,
Oh,
Scott?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hello,
Your
nice to
name,
meet you.
sir? State
Skylar
your name
Broxton.
and- Sir?
Skylar Broxton.
Broxton, okay. And what you do over there, Mr. Broxton?
I am maintenance supervisor.
Okay. All right, tell us what you want us to know about it.
Mason, he's a good hard worker. He's quick to learn. He can do just about everything from mechanic, welding, electrician. And I think that he had learned his actions and learned that he can do better for himself. So.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else there that wishes to speak on his behalf?
Warden Smith.
Okay, Warden Smith.
Yes, I'm Warden Johnny Smith. Mason's been with us for a good while now. We look at his disciplinary record. We look at how he behaves in the prison, gets along with fellow inmates and with staff. And during his time, he's never had a disciplinary violation. And he's done everything we've asked him to do. Actually, he works weekends, nights, whenever he's called out. We've taken him under supervision to our other facilities to rebuild bathrooms, do certain jobs. So we know he has the vocational ability, the skills to make it in life. And from his behavior, we can't say that he would be a threat to anyone or the community. So we can't say anything bad against him, put it that way. He's done good while he's been with us.
Okay, thank you, Warden Smith. Anyone else?
I think that's it, sir.
I think that's it, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Prater. Let me
Yes,
ask
sir.
Warden Smith one question before he leaves. Warden Smith, we saw where he was sent to Baton Rouge for a week. What
Yes,
was
sir.
that about?
Our sister facility, East Baton Rouge Work Release Facility, had some horrible bathroom issues, and he redid the physical work there. He and I think we have three other inmates in our maintenance department went and rebuilt the bathroom of that.
Okay, that's what we wanted to do. It wasn't disciplinary. Okay, all right, Mr. Prater.
Okay, Mason, I won't spend a lot of time here, but you were 23 at the time,
Yes, sir.
and this girl was 13 at the time.
Yes, sir.
And you say you met her at a party.
Yes, sir.
What I was reading in the report was that y'all slept in the same bed together for 3 or 4 nights.
Yes, sir.
Is that the same incident we're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what did having meeting her at a party have to do with anything?
I met her and I started hanging out with her. I met her mom and we all got along. And I know her age I figured it out. And me and her mama got along, and she never had a problem with me at the time. But we ended up having problems.
You and the mom.
Yes, sir.
What did you have problems about?
I couldn't answer that one because I really don't understand how I ended up aggravating her or getting on her bad side. But my actions of, I guess, upsetting her, get arguments with her for over little things.
Okay, let's focus here, Mason. I don't understand what that has to do.
With
The
sleep.
mother being aggravated with you about little things has to do with what we're talking about.
With sleeping with her, sleeping with her multiple times. Sorry.
Go ahead.
The multiple times of me sleeping with her, sir, was going to stay the night with her and hanging out with her and everybody, but aggravating her mom, to be honest, I aggravated her more than likely, I feel. I went into the bathroom, sir, and I found a pipe. Her parents smoked drugs. And I never smoked drugs, sir. Never done them. I don't condone it. I don't like it. This facility today can tell you I don't deal with drugs. And I said something to her mom, and I don't believe she liked what I had to say about it. Personally, I think that's how I made her mad, but
Because you made her mad, then she reported this? Is that
reported,
what you're alleging?
yes, sir.
I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but so far you're talking about the mom.
Yes, sir, I understand that. I'm talking about the mom, but with my charges of sleeping with an underage minor, I do regret that part. I shouldn't have allowed myself to feel like it is all right to sleep with an underage minor. I don't. I understand now that my actions at that time, sleeping with an underage minor, is something I should have never thought about doing, should have never done. And I regret it every day.
Now I'm not trying to try this case again, but I'm trying to see if you got the mental capability to know how wrong this was. Was she a willing participant in this?
Yes, sir, she was willing, but I understand what you're trying. If she was willing, but I should have been adult because of how old I was. I should have been let's just say at the time, I wish I could have been a better man and told myself, no, this is wrong. You do not even need to be speaking with her, much less what I did do.
How many times did y'all have sex?
Once.
And that was interrupted, right?
Yes, sir.
By who?
A young feller named I can't recall his name right now, sir.
Okay, let's move on. At the time, you already had a child, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And how old was that mother?
$18, $19.
According to the report, you told the investigators or someone that the mother was 15.
The mother, her mother, my daughter's mother,
Right.
she was, yes, sir, she was 15 when her and I got together.
Okay.
She was.
So having sex with underage girls was not something new to you. You thought that was okay?
Yes, sir. At the time, yes, sir.
And then you got a sweetheart deal of 10 years hard labor, and I don't understand this. The judge gave you, and it's not my place to question it, but he gave you 10 years hard labor, suspended, and gave you 5 years supervision, probation. And so you walked basically on that, and then you took off and went out of state and refused to, I mean, you didn't acknowledge that, you just took off. And that's why you're in jail now, is because you couldn't even abide by the rules for the 5 years of probation, correct?
Yes. That 5, I regret that also too. But I regret it, yes, sir. But at the time when I left, there was I couldn't find work around here. I couldn't make money for nothing. But I shouldn't. That's not an excuse for what I did. And I was wrong for doing that too. And my actions of that is what got me back here. But I feel now that I could have done better. I could have came to Lake Charles, Baton Rouge, somewhere in the state. But when I had the job opportunity to go back to the power lines, which I know I've done it prior to being locked up the first time. When I had the opportunity to take the job, I did get with my probation officer. I asked her about it and she allowed me to go. The first hitch. Came back, got a second permission slip to go back to work. And when I got back to work, they called the whole crew in to go on a storm call in South Carolina. And on my way, I wasn't thinking, sorry, I was not thinking. At the time when we left out, I didn't click in my head that I was about to be gone for 2 or 3 months because the 2 hurricanes hit back to back on the East Coast in South Carolina and North Carolina. At the time when we left Texas, my pay started on time and a half, which is a lot of money at $36 an hour. Well, I let the knowledge, I guess you could say, the knowledge of knowing that I'm about to be making a lot of money and I won't have to worry about nothing. I let that cloud my judgment of I need to make sure I'm home to report.
Okay. All right. That kind of explains it. I don't have any other questions.
Ms. Renata, you have any questions?
I don't. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Calcoat, one thing I noticed is that you scored a 2 on your sex offender evaluation, which is on the low end. It high is 5, low is 1. You had I think it was a medium risk. No, low risk.
He's low,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Is the panel ready to vote?
Yes.
Prater?
Yes, sir, Mason. I think after hearing you talk about this and this judgment problems that you have and 2 underage girls, one you weren't charged with and one your judgment kicks in after you've already done something. And that's not the way it can be. I don't know. I think you're doing real good right there because they got rules and you got to abide by the rules. I think once you get out, you have a little problem with rules and judgment is clouded. So for those reasons, I'm going to vote to deny your parole this time.
Okay, Mr. Renata?
Yeah, Mason, I saw you in 2021, I think you came up for parole. And
Yes,
at that time you were planning to go back to Texas. Is that still your plan?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. My grandfather, he's in bad health. And his company.
Where's he at?
He's in Athens, Texas, going through a lot of doctors stuff. And his company I was going to go work for didn't work out. But a company that comes here to this facility that checks the fire extinguishers, does all the checking on the fire alarms and all that. They offered me a job and down in Lake Charles, and they offered to help pay all my apartment, everything right here in Lake Charles.
Okay. So when I voted for you last time, it was that you go to the Texas plan because there was no sex offender treatment at that time. I think you were in Sabine.
Yes,
I don't think you were at Southwest yet. And I would do that again to the especially since you have a job offer in the vicinity where you're at, and you will be required to do some sex offender treatment on the street. You have a lot of challenges. If you were granted, I don't know that you will be, but my vote, I'm going to stick by my first vote to grant you to the Calcasieu Parish residence plan.
Yes, ma'am.
And that you abide by any requirements of the sex offender contract.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Calco, you do think a little bit late about things. Hopefully, if you learn one thing, you need to think ahead and plan ahead. I understand that was great money and you went work, and be honest with you, I'm kind of at least happy you absconded because you wanted to go make money and you went to work and not just try to run off. My vote today, I mean, like I said, you scored a 2 on the assessment. I'm gonna also agree with Ms. Renata, and I'm gonna vote to grant to the Lake Charles address. Now, how many votes does it take? Takes all of them. You've only received 2 out of 3 votes. Reapply again as soon as you can. I'm sorry, you needed all 3 votes to be granted. Good luck to you.
Right.
I thought we only the last time I went up, they said I had to have these here.
I know.
And he's rejected, and he doesn't have a good time date. His full term date is 2028, so another 4 years. And you could almost feel bad for him in some ways. I'm not stretching it, but maybe I know that there might be some out there that do. But remember, and I'm so happy the sheriff brought this up because it's like what we scream about. But he's like, I don't understand it. But the judge basically let you get away with it. 10-year sentence, 5 years probation, and everything suspended. He didn't have to serve 1 day in prison. And I think they hit the head on the nose. He just does. He's like impulsive. He doesn't. The idea that the results are no brainer. You know, he absconds. You're gonna get caught. You're gonna go and spend the next 10 years in prison, maybe. But he just didn't think that through. And it's not that he's not intelligent. You know, in the second hearing, I really loved how the sheriff dug in, how he went into the facts. It's actually something that we miss on a lot of hearings. And they didn't do that in the first hearing at all. And, you know, you kind of got to know him a little bit more in the second hearing. You got to hear about the crime. You got to hear about how he has a baby with another victim that he was never prosecuted for or anything. And you even hear him articulate his thought process on why he did abscond. And he has that intelligence. He has that ability to make a lot of money. He actually, I do believe him when he says that he doesn't like drugs and that's why he left. And the idea that he's working hard, riding his boss's horses on the weekend. I mean, he's living really a good life, except for the fact that he has this thing with little girls. And there's a part of me when I watch both hearings that I don't believe he, even till today, quite understands how wrong it is. I think he was brought up, I'm just speculating, but I think he was brought up in a world where there was nothing wrong with it. It's how he was raised. He had a baby with another girl and they never got in trouble for it. Then he's hanging out at this other girl's house. What did he say? 3 nights, 4 nights or something? And I think he's speaking the truth. His mom had nothing against it. Then he went and found the pipe. He mouthed off or something. She got pissed and said, I have a trick up my sleeve. And got him that felony. And I believe that's how it happened. I think that in his mind, he actually doesn't know it's wrong, or he doesn't believe he did anything wrong because he wasn't brought up that way. Now, whether or not you want to say he has still at what age, it's just there. It doesn't make him less dangerous, because to be 23 years old and to go and want to spend a minute with a 13-year-old girl, forget it's nor do I believe that he only did it that one time. It's just hard to believe that. Remember, he said, oh yeah, there was just that one time I did it and the boy walked in or something. It's just, that's hard to believe. But, the mother should be sitting in prison next to him to let a 23-year-old stay the night, the weekend, or whatever, how long it was with their daughter. It's crazy. And here he is. He looks like Luke Skywalker, right? I don't know if that's just me, but what judge gives 10 years? I mean, with all the information that you have, knowing that he fathered a child with a child, and then he has this second offense, and what judge gives 10 years, but not requiring 1 day to be locked up? Then he gets the letters to go work abroad, but then he just doesn't want, and he probably could have gotten another permission slip to go over there and make 1.5 in South Carolina or whatever it was. He probably just had to write the letter. And it's like this impulsive nature, this impulse control thing. And the sheriff dug in there, and I think he hit it on the head. He's like, I just don't think you get it. I don't think that you understand how to control those impulses, which is just something that's very dangerous, right? I don't have any other information on this case. You tell me how you feel about this. It's interesting. He got the 2 votes to grant. They're like, well, you're doing well, you and there were some points there. He did abscond to work. We're used to seeing people just absconding for the worst reasons. I do believe that he's not on drugs, but the bottom line is he likes children, and he's a danger to children. And he also has clear impulse control problems. So, it doesn't, and I don't think he gets it. I don't think from what I've seen, it's just not clear to me that he believes that what he did was wrong. It's like he's still like explaining it. Well, the mother knew, the mother was okay with it until I did anything wrong. It's like still trying to explain his side of it, to get it through how what he did wasn't wrong. It's just not clicking. So, I think, of course, it's the right move by the sheriff. I love that the sheriff goes into those details and explains, his thinking and expresses his frustration with the judge. It's very validating. It really is, because for so long watching this hearing, sometimes you just begin to feel crazy. Like, are we the only ones that think this way? Like, how is it that our judicial system, the people put in charge, don't see common sense when it hits them in the face? But thank you, Richard, for connecting the dots. Again, remember, we get a hearing in 7/25/2024, and in the spreadsheet it's there with the link to the hearing in 2021. It makes it so easy to connect the dots. So Sir Richard, thank you.
You know, and it's just, you know, it's just all of these people that are in power. They're you know, they're doing things because, you know, they're trying to, you know, it's just conniving, you know.